The sun had barely crested the ridges of the Montana hills when Eli Carter saddled his horse, Dusty, and rode down the dirt trail toward town. A cold wind swept across the prairie, carrying with it the sharp bite of early winter. The old wooden cabin behind him stood silent except for the soft cry of his little girl, Clara, waving from the porch. "I'll be back by sundown," Eli called, tightening his coat. "Stay warm, sweetheart. Mrs. Turner will look after you till I'm back." He had meant only to get flour, salt, and feed. But life, as he'd come to learn, had a way of changing course faster than a storm over the plains. The town of Willow Creek wasn't much a handful of stores, a saloon, and a church that doubled as a meeting hall. But it was enough for a man trying to keep a small ranch running after losing his wife. 2 winters ago, Eli tied Dusty outside Harlan's general store and stepped inside, the bell above the door tinkling softly. He nodded to the shopkeeper, ordered his supplies, and waited near the counter. That's when he saw her. She was outside, half hidden in the shadow of the bakery porch. Her dress white once, now gray with dust hung loose from her frame. Her hair, once carefully pinned, fell in tangled curls over her shoulders. Her eyes, though tired and hollow, still held something, maybe pride, maybe hope. In her hands, she clutched a piece of torn lace, the only clean thing she seemed to own. "Please," she whispered to the baker's wife. "Just a loaf. I'll work for it, anything. I haven't eaten in 2 days." The baker's wife frowned. "We can't feed every stray soul that walks through here. You'll have to move along, miss." The young woman's shoulders sagged, but she didn't argue. She turned away quietly, clutching her shawl tight, her thin fingers trembling. Eli watched the whole thing through the window. Something in him twisted. He'd seen that kind of hunger before, the kind that went beyond the stomach and settled deep in the heart. Without thinking, he stepped outside. "Miss," he said softly. She froze, turning slowly. Her eyes met his, wary but gentle. "I'm not looking for charity," she said quickly. "Please, sir, don't trouble yourself." Eli held up a hand. "I didn't say anything about charity. Come inside. Let's get you something to eat." She hesitated, eyes darting to the bakery again, then back to him. "You don't even know me." He nodded. "You're right. But I know what hunger looks like. Come on." For a long moment, she stood there, then finally nodded, too weak to argue. Inside the general store, Eli asked Harlan to bring out bread, a jar of honey, and warm tea from the kettle. The woman sat by the small stove, her hands wrapped around the cup, trying not to shake Dot when she'd eaten a little. Eli said quietly, "You said you weren't looking for charity. Then tell me what you're looking for." She took a breath. "Mercy," she whispered, "and maybe a place to start again." Her name, she told him, was Anna Whitmore. She'd come west from Missouri 3 months ago, promised in marriage to a man she'd never met, a rancher who'd written fine letters and sent money for the trip. But when she arrived, he'd been gone dead from pneumonia 2 weeks before she came. The boarding house turned her away when her money ran out. The church had no room. She'd been sleeping in the old freight barn behind the station for nearly a week. "I kept the dress," she said, voice breaking, looking down at the torn lace. "Didn't seem right to throw it away. I thought maybe someone would still want a bride." Eli stared at her. He could see she wasn't weak. She was just lost, battered by a world that didn't have space for gentle hearts anymore. "Where were you planning to go now?" he asked Dot. She shook her head. "I don't know. I thought maybe the next town, if I can make it that far." He thought of Clara waiting at home, her small hands kneading pretend bread out of mud and flour. He thought of how quiet the house had been since her mother died. He didn't think too long. "Come with me," he said. Anna looked up sharply. "To your ranch?" He nodded. "I could use help. My little girl needs someone to teach her how to sew, how to be gentle again. And you need a place to rest." You'll earn your keep, I promise you that. Her eyes filled with tears. Why would you do that? Because somebody once did the same for me, he said simply. Now eat up before that tea gets cold. The ride back was quiet. Anna sat behind him on Dusty, her arms uncertain around his waist, her head bowed against the wind. The land stretched wide and golden beneath the falling sun, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something stirring in her chest, something like belonging. When they reached the cabin, Clara ran out barefoot. Papa, you're back. She stopped short when she saw Anna. Who's she? Eli smiled faintly. This is Miss Anna. She's going to stay with us for a while. Clara blinked, then grinned. Good, then maybe we'll have pie again. Anna laughed softly, a sound that caught even her by surprise. Over the next few weeks, the ranch slowly changed. Anna mended curtains, cooked meals, and hummed as she worked. She told Clara bedtime stories about riverboats and cities, things the little girl had never seen. Eli found himself listening at the door some nights, the sound of laughter echoing through walls that had known only silence. But he noticed something else too, the way Anna sometimes stared out at the horizon, clutching that bit of lace between her fingers. Still thinking about him? Eli asked one evening as they watched the sun dip low. She shook her head. No, just thinking how life turns. One moment you're waiting for a husband who'll never come. The next you're baking biscuits for strangers who feel like home. He smiled faintly. We're all strangers until we aren't. Winter came hard that year. The snow piled high and supplies grew scarce. But Anna kept the home warm, her laughter keeping Clara's spirits bright. One stormy night, Eli came back from the barn soaked to the bone. He found Anna by the fire, patching his coat. She looked up as he entered, her cheeks pink from the heat. You shouldn't be out there, she said softly. You'll freeze. He shrugged. Cattle don't feed themselves. She frowned, standing to take his gloves. You could at least let someone help. I've been doing it alone a long time. She met his gaze. You don't have to anymore. Something in her tone steady, kind, unafraid struck deep. He reached up slowly, brushing a damp curl from her cheek. Anna, he murmured, you deserve better than this life. She shook her head, tears glinting in her eyes. Better than kindness? Better than peace? Eli, this is more than I ever hoped for. The firelight flickered between them, and for a long, unspoken moment, the room held its breath dot by spring. Anna had built a small garden beside the porch. Clara helped her plant seeds, singing tunelessly while Eli repaired fences in the distance. The townfolk talked. Of course, about the rancher who brought home a stranger, about the widow's dress she still wore when she came to church. But Eli didn't care, and neither did Anna Dot one Sunday morning. As they prepared to ride into town, Clara tugged Anna's hand. Miss Anna, she said shyly, are you gonna marry my papa? Anna froze, glancing toward Eli. He looked back, quiet and thoughtful. Clara grinned. You already make biscuits better than him. Eli chuckled, lifting his daughter onto the wagon. Then he turned to Anna, his eyes soft. Well, Miss Whitmore, seems my little girl's got ideas. Anna smiled faintly, holding his gaze. Seems she's got good ones too. A month later, the church bell rang for a wedding no one had expected, but everyone came to see. Anna walked down the aisle in a simple blue dress, her lace ribbon woven into her hair. Clara carried wildflowers she'd picked herself. When the preacher asked if Eli took this woman as his wife, his voice didn't waver. I do, he said, eyes never leaving hers. For as long as God lets me draw breath. And when Anna answered, her voice was steady and sure. I do, she whispered. For the home you gave me when I had none. That evening, as twilight settled over the ranch, Eli stood on the porch with his arm around Anna. Clara chased fireflies in the yard, her laughter echoing through the soft wind. Funny, Anna murmured. You rode into town for flour and salt. Came back with a wife instead. Eli smiled. Best trade I ever made. The stars rose above the prairie, bright and endless. And for the first time in a long while, the house on the Carter Ranch was full again of warmth, of laughter, of mercy answered that moral Kalan kindness has a way of finding its way home. What begins with mercy can end with love, and sometimes the simplest act of compassion is the start of a whole new life.